receptive.
Is it looking at me?
It just tore its head off.
Ah! Jeepers Creepers! All movies recapped and reviewed. Listen, I had to make this video because I have a lot of things to say about the Jeepers Creepers movies. I mean, the first movie is genuinely one of my favorite horror movies I've ever seen. And if you've seen the thumbnail, you saw that I put 90% on that Rotten Tomato, and that is false. In actuality, it has a 46% score, which I refuse to live in that reality. That is a simulation, and I refuse to accept that because that first movie is a goddamn masterpiece. And I will defend it. I will defend it to my last dying breath. But the first three movies are directed by Victor Salva, which we will not be getting into his shenanigans. But the first movie starts off, in my opinion, with one of the greatest horror openings ever. We have a brother and a sister who are driving home for spring holiday, played by Justin Long, who we all know of, and Gina Phillips, who plays Trish Jenner, who I have not seen in any other movie, but she's great in this movie. And they're telling jokes to one another until you see this big old nasty truck coming right up behind them, blowing the most obnoxious horn. And let's be honest, guys, if you could put yourself in their shoes, that would be terrifying. Or at the very least, you would be nervous because that is a very uncomfortable situation. But Derry tries to make space so that he can pass him. He even signals to him like, pass me by, but he just keeps driving on their tail. And then we see the classic shot of the license plate that says beating you. I swear to you, I did not put two and two together in that scene. I literally saw that was like beat in goo. That's weird. Maybe because it's missing the I don't know, but I was pretty stupid for that. But it is beating you. But the truck does end up passing them and driving off into the distance, to which later on the brother and the sister end up passing a house, seeing the truck and a mysterious figure coming out of the truck, dumping like a body-like bag into some tunnel, and the mysterious figure does end up seeing them. And what do you know? The truck gets on their ass once again. And this time the truck hits them, forcing them to drive off the road, and poor Justin Long is petrified, as he should be. Part of the reason why I love the opening so much is because it's in broad daylight. A lot of horror movies rely a lot on the dark in order to spook you, but whenever movies go out of the way to do a scary sequence in broad daylight, I feel like they're trying a lot more. They're putting a lot more effort, and I just love it. But then Derry gets the magical idea of going back to the house just to look down the pipe, which the sister obviously like, you're f***ing crazy, but he makes a deal with her where he's like, if we look and there's nothing there, we leave and we call the cops. But this is his idea of being like a good person, I guess. And I love this part. Justin Long pulls the ace out of his sleeve and is like, what if it was you back there? Brother. But they both end up going back, looking down the sewer pipe, and let me tell you what, Derry's a bit stupid in this movie. He's the classic dumbass because I'm not good at geometry or Pythagorean theorem and all these numbers, but just judging on the slant of that pipe, he goes down it. I'm just like, you bro, you are out of your mind. And he thinks that he sees something moving down there, but there end up being rats which scare his sister, so she lets go of him and he goes down the pipe and he ends up finding the body that's in the bag, and the hand comes out of the bag to pull on his leg. So obviously the dude is still alive, so he ends up like taking off part of the bag so he can see his face. And then this part, woo-wee! He opens up further to see his stomach, which is like all sewed up, which is freaky as hell. And he ends up just dying right in front of Justin Long's character. And you thought that was it? Oh!
But wait! There's more!
Because Derry ends up seeing the 16th chapel of bodies down there alongside the torture room. And the sister, who's just waiting outside, sees the truck coming back, so she tries to get in the car to start the car, but it's not starting. But luckily enough, it just drives past them. And it's actually just a hay truck, not the truck that they saw before. And then classic movie jump scare. Derry pops up on the window, freaked out. His eyes are just in shock, scaring his sister. So she's trying to figure out what the hell happened down there, and he's just so in shock that he can't even talk until they pull up to this like gas station diner, which is, you know, kind of reminiscent of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this time they do see the truck heading back that way. And once they enter the diner, everyone's looking at them kind of weirdly, and they ask to call the police, and they're all kind of weirded out as to why they need to call the police. But the payphone just starts ringing out of nowhere, so the sister answers it, and there's this woman that like knows both of them already. She calls them by name. She's describing Justin Long's t-shirt that is ripped, and he has a small rose tattoo, so they're like freaked out because they have no idea who they're talking to. But this mysterious woman that's on the phone starts explaining to them that he found the House of Pain, which is where he was at, where all the bodies were at in the torture chamber. And then she explains to them that once it has a scent of something it likes, it will never stop. And then she makes him listen to the famous song, Jeepers Creepers, where'd you get those peepers? And if you hear that song, you better run because that song means something's bad gonna happen to you. So since Derry's freaked out, he just ends up saying, you, and hangs up the phone. So the police finally show up. They're trying to explain everything to the police, and then the brother and sister have a little bit of a fight because he's like, do you believe me, right? Do you believe me? So Justin Long's character is just having a full-on mental breakdown. The cop does tell him that they are running the plates and they have a couple cars going to the church, and then they go outside of the diner and they see that the car has been ran through, and apparently he was sniffing the laundry, which that's important because if once he gets a scent, you're Derry ends up picking up the clothes on the ground, and then he sees the fingerprints on the car handle. So then they're driving back to the church as the cops are following them, and they start hearing the Jeepers Creepers song on the radio. All the scenes at night with the cars on the road, oh my god, perfection. But you see the creeper on top of the car, and he just yanks out the lady police officer and then just straight up decapitates the guy driving the car, which makes the car lose control. So they stop to see what the hell is going on behind them, and then they see something else in the car, so they get back inside their car, and the creeper walks out of the police car, and you can just see in their faces what a great scene because they are terrified, and the lighting, oh my goodness, it's so good. But he picks up the decapitated head of the officer and then starts literally like eating his tongue out, so they just book it, and the creeper ends up putting the corpses in the back of his truck. So they end up pulling over at the nearest house that they come across so that they can use the phone to call the police. And guess what, bro? They end up coming across a crazy old cat lady house, the worst place you want to be in a horror movie. But she's like, you can call the sheriff's station, don't give him my address, my cats don't like company, blah blah blah. But then the lights go out, and then you see the creeper hanging like a scarecrow right by the crops, which is also super scary. So she gets a shotgun to shoot the creeper, but he ends up escaping somehow, and then when she goes back into her house, the creeper kills her and is just holding her dead corpse in front of her as she's walking towards the door. And then you see the creeper behind her, and oh my god, the chase begins again. And this leads to probably my favorite scene in the entire movie. I mean, this is top tier classic horror scenes in my opinion. But they're trying to escape, and then the creeper gets on top of the car, so they try to fast forward, but the creeper just flips off it like a goddamn acrobatic, and then he's just pacing side to side, taunting them in the car, and Derry's like, just run that thing over, run it over, in one of the best moments of tension in the film. And when they finally do try to run it over, he just like runs on top of the car. So the sister actually tries to go in reverse, but the same thing happens, so they just kind of realize like, we're f***ing screwed. But they tried one more time, and they actually do end up hitting it, and they run it over a couple times, but then it's still not dead, and you can see its wings start to pop out, which was freaky, bro. That thing does, it's Terminator, it won't stop, and you can see the look on Justin Long's face, bro. I love this still shot, it's almost like a meme to me. So they end up getting to the police station, and the sister calls the mom, and Derry starts to notice all the missing people from Poho County, all the posters, and then the woman on the phone shows up to the police station, and the policemen already have a relationship with her because they think she's crazy. But then she sits down with Derry to explain to him that every 23rd spring for 23 days it gets to eat, and then she goes one step further to explain that it eats lungs so that it can breathe, it eats eyes so that it can see, so it's pretty much like regenerating itself, like whatever it eats becomes a part of it. And then the famous truck pulls into the police station for one of the most epic showdowns in the finale of a horror movie. Oh my god, I love the ending. The lights end up going out in the police station, which kind of reminds me of the police station scene in Terminator, which was also badass. But they start going through the cells to make sure all the inmates are there, and you just see the creeper just devouring this dude, but you just see the backside, and it is horrifying. So the police decide to put the two kids in a holding room, but the old lady's like, no, you can't do that because he's gonna find you. So instead of going to the holding cell, they end up following the old lady, and then all the policemen in the station are just waiting for this thing to come downstairs. And then we finally get to see the creeper, who immediately takes out one of the cops by ripping his heart out. But the brother and sister and the old lady end up at a dead end because the doors are locked. And then she keeps saying about the dreams that she has as she hears someone screaming. And Derry asks her, are your dreams ever wrong? And then you see the creeper just come out of nowhere, crawling on the wall. And he then ends up behind the old lady, smelling her. And it cuts to them just trying to escape in another room. And there's this really cool scene where like there's the interrogation room mirror, and on one side is the creeper and the other side is the sister. And then he just breaks into the room, throws the sister aside, and grabs Justin Long's character, because that's really who he wants. The cops come in and you see the full face of the freaking creeper with his like antennas and weird ass thing coming up behind from his head, and he's holding Justin Long in like a chokehold. But the sister tries to be a hero in that moment and tells him to take her instead. The cops are too afraid to shoot it because Justin Long is right there, so it sprouts its wings and then just breaks out the window and just leaves with him. And you just see it flying away in the moonlight with Justin Long, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. And then the final scene of the movie, you start hearing the Jeepers Creepers song. We go back into the House of Pain and we see Justin Long's body and the creeper working on it, and then as it pans up, you see Justin Long's face without his eyes, and then the last shot is the creeper's eyes right behind him. To this day, that movie holds up. It's one of my favorite horror movies, start to finish. I mean, great intro, great outro, great action sequences, great suspense. The acting is pretty damn good. I love the creature design, the monster design of the creeper, and just the whole roller coaster ride from start to finish, starting like a suspense chase movie to then a slasher to then a full-on monster movie. It's just, it does not deserve a goddamn 46% on Rotten Tomatoes. What the is that? Get that shit out of here. Comment below if you disagree, but the first movie is definitely the best out of all of them and is the gold standard. Now let's move on to the second movie, which isn't bad. I enjoy the second movie. I find pleasure in rewatching it. It's a fun Halloween movie, so let's dive into it. So the movie starts off with this little boy putting up scarecrows on the farm, and you see the dad and the older brother working on the farm as well. But the dog starts to sense something funny. But we see one of the scarecrow's heads move, and then as soon as the boy looks, it turns right back, and then you're like, oh my god, it's the creeper. I love this opening scene. It's like its own little horror short before the movie starts, and just like the first movie, the opening of these movies are fantastic. But he goes up closer to take a look, and then the Jeeper just starts flying over him and starts like hunting him down. But eventually the creeper snatches him up, the dog starts barking like crazy, the dad gets a shotgun, but they don't see where he is because it's in this like cornfield or crop field, I don't know what it is. But in the distance you can barely see the creeper moving through the crops, and so they start running after him because like since they don't have a clear shot, he can't shoot the shotgun, and then all of a sudden he just springs into the air and flies away with the kid. And it just zooms up into the dad's face, who's just in complete shock. Then we get introduced to the jocks of the movie, which is apparently a basketball team and the couple cheerleaders that are all traveling on this school bus, and we get to see that it's day 23. Ooh, the last day of the hunt. And then all of a sudden one of the tires of the bus blows out, and when they go outside to check it, they see that it's one of those like flying ninja stars from the creeper, and it even has a tooth attached to it. And while the coach and the bus driver are outside trying to figure out the tire issue, the kids that are inside the bus hear the radio station talking about the previous movie, how they found this house of pain and the corpses they found were missing teeth, and they're all like sewed together on this wall, and they're just all like freaking out. But then we cut back to the family of the opening scene of the movie, and we see the older brother and the dog investigating the crop field to see if they can find any clues. The older brother does find something. He finds a knife from the creeper that has like these bodies carved into the handle, and when he gives it to his dad, it just like flies out of his hand. And we even see a carved image of the creeper getting the kid in the crop field. And then we cut back to the bus that's still stuck, so we have like the jocks on the top of the roof just sun tanning, and then the coach gets mad at these girls because he's like, are you ladies smoking? And he says one of my favorite lines in the movie. He's like,
there's no girl dumb enough in the world to kill themselves sucking on cancer sticks.
Have you ever seen high school girls? That's all they do. What are you talking about? Listen, I know a lot of people in the comments of my last video were like, the way you describe girls. I'm describing my experience at Rancho Buena Vista High School. Them bitches were sucking on cancer sticks and vapes, and they did it all. But the best part of the scene is that the bus driver was smoking with them. And then the last guy standing to pee on the field sees something fly above him, and he's all creeped out, and then as he's walking back, he gets scared by the birds, and everyone just starts laughing at him, so classic high school vibes. And then we cut back to the opening family, and we see the father like building this harpoon, presumably to like kill the And when we cut back to the bus, it's nighttime and they're up and moving down 9 East. And then we see this guy talking to his girl, I guess, and he's like all butthurt that he only played 12 minutes of the game. If only he knew, that would be the last of his concerns at this point. But we see this like growing tension between him and one of the black players on the bus, and then the blonde girl who's like half asleep starts having this vision where she sees Justin Long's character pointing the other direction, like get out of here, telling them to go back in like a daylight vision in the crop field, which is pretty interesting. And at the end of her vision, she sees the creeper running through the crop field towards them and then throw the little flying ninja thing to the bus. And then as soon as she wakes up, guess what? One of their tire blows out again. So now they're stuck at night in the middle of nowhere, but luckily enough, a car drives by them, and so the coach goes to tell him, hey, go tell the nearest police station that we're stuck out here. And they end up driving off. And then as one of the coach starts setting up flares, the bus driver finds another one of those flying ninja stars in the tire, and she's like, there's something going on. And in the background, you just see the coach get snatched up into the air by the creeper, and everyone's just confused as to where the hell he went. So they tell everyone to go back into the bus, and the bus driver then gets snatched up into the air. So everyone's just freaking out, like, what the hell is going on? So the last coach that's left is at the front of the bus asking everyone what they saw, because no one wants to believe what they saw. Like, who wants to be the guy that's like, yeah, I saw someone flying to the air by this creature? You'd be like, what the are you on drugs? But sure enough, he gets snatched up, and now they know for real, okay, this is no joke, we're in it now. So we then cut back to the father of the opening scene of the movie, and he's listening to like the police radio, and he hears about like the trouble that's going on the highway, so he decides to go. And then we cut back to the high schoolers who are stuck in the bus. This is why this movie works so well for me, is because I love the setting. A bus at night in the middle of nowhere, like you're confined to this small ass vehicle, but nobody wants to go outside because I mean you're free for all at that point. So I just love the setting, the scenario. It works for this movie. And then the dumbass white dude considers like, let's make a run for it in the middle of nowhere. Like, where are you gonna run, dog? So one of the other dudes that's not part of the basketball team is like, yeah, that's a dumbass idea. So they get into a fight, and then we get the black guy and white dude have this like confrontation. This scene's pretty funny because it's like they're both like talking back and forth, and then the black dude's just like, I think you want to call me something else. Do you want to say it? And they're just there like, I'd be like, ninja. But in the midst of all this, they finally get to see the creeper's face at the window, and it's creepy as hell. Man, that monster design is god tier. But he's just crawling along the window, smelling his victims, and they're just there like, what the hell is happening? And then he goes on top of the roof, and then we get one of my favorite scenes in the movie where he's hanging upside down from the back of the bus looking through the window, and he's like telling each one of them to move away as he's looking for the perfect victim that he wants. And they all start slowly moving away until it's the black dude at the end of it, and that's really the guy that he's looking for. Bro, the tension in that scene is unbearable, dude, because it's not a jump scare. It's just all of them super on edge looking at this weird ass thing upside down. And I'm telling you, the lighting in this scene and the design, and it just looks so scary. Like, even in the later Jeepers Creepers, he doesn't look as good as in this movie. And it's just that classic slow burn where everyone's on the edge of their seat. Ugh, great scene, great scene. But he ends up going on top of the roof, and then the blonde girl just passes out, and she's like in one of those dream visions that she has, and she's back at the crop field from the beginning of the movie, and Justin Long is there explaining to her that every 23rd spring for 23 days it gets to eat us. And then she sees his eyeballs that are like missing. So she wakes back up and kind of explains the whole deal to the rest of them, and then we cut to the dad who's driving down the highway, and you see the car from the earlier in the movie crashed into a tree, and the top of it just like ripped off. So we can all assume that, you know, he got snatched up by the creeper. And the son who's in the car catches the radio signal from the bus and is talking to them, and they're like, please help us. And the dad's like, we're on our way. And so they're all hyped that someone's coming to rescue them, and then all of a sudden the creeper's hand just breaks through the roof of the bus, and so one of the kids takes the spear and just stabs it through his head, and then the creeper just like yanks it out, breaking half his face off, and then just flies away. But then he falls back onto the roof of the bus, and everyone assumes that he's dead because he's just laying there. And then they realize they can't get out of the bus because he locked them in, and we see the wing just hanging from the top, and everyone's like, what the hell is this thing? And then the wing just like wraps up one of the dudes and yanks him out, so of course he's not dead yet. And then we see the decapitated body of someone just flopping around like a chicken. And then we get the best scene, in my opinion, of the entire movie. If you're into monsters and creature features and practical effects, this scene is awesome. We see the creeper like take off his head and then like put the head of the decapitated person and just like retransform his face, which is epic and nasty and just gruesome looking. But I just love this scene. It is just insane to watch, especially with like the night sky in the background and the stars and everything. Oh, just pure horror gold, my man. Definitely one of the best scenes in my opinion. But he ends up flying away, and then one of the kids ends up breaking the door open. So they all decide to get out of there, and as they're walking out, they see the creeper flying in the air in the moonlight. So they decide to go back in the bus, but the bus door is closed, and there's one person that's still inside, and he's not opening the door. So they all just end up booking it, trying to escape the thing. So the creeper just starts throwing all his like weapons at them, and then he ends up throwing the knife at the main protagonist of the movie and catches him in the arm against a tree. So they're all just trying to like pull the thing out, but as soon as they do, the creeper snatches him up and he is gone for good. But then we get the dad and brother who's riding in the truck with their like harpoon gun. They run into the blonde girl. She's like, you can't kill it, and he's like, leave that to us, get us to that bus. Anyways, there's two people on the bus because apparently the dude let the girl in, and then the other guy came through the hole from the top of the bus, and then he gets his head snatched again from the creeper, and we get this phenomenal shot of the creeper just spreading its wing with like the headlights from the other side like illuminating it, which I thought was awesome. And the dad just freaking harpoons the motherfucker, and the creeper apparently is so strong that he's like in midair and he's pulling the truck towards the bus, crashing it into it, and he's still flying even though that thing is straight up in his chest. But he ends up taking it out of him and throws it right to the kid through the windshield, but the kid dodges it, but it got his jacket, so he's kind of stuck there in the moment. So the dad, being the genius that he is, tries to harpoon it again through the school bus, and now since the spear is attached to a metal cord, the creeper is able to flip the entire bus over, and then he also like flips the car like 3 times over, kind of like a Talladega Nights car scene. But the dad is able to make it out on time. This is an epic showdown. I love this part of the movie because it's just action on top of horror on top of action, bro. It's lit. These 3 other students though, who are still in the middle of the field that were running earlier, find the bug exterminator truck that like crashed into a tree, so they decide to see if they can like wire it and get it to start, and they end up making it work. So they start running away in this car, but one of them is in the back of the truck, and the creeper's like flying towards them. And this is a pretty cool scene, but it makes no sense because they're just hauling ass with this truck, and the guy just ends up pushing the girl out the car. How does she not have like 5 broken bones? And then he comes up with a genius idea of just like pumping the brakes so like the car will flip, and then the creeper like goes completely through the car. But the black dude was in the back of the truck. How is he not dead? That is insane. He just has like this minor wound on his leg, bro, and I'm telling you it's minor because he should be dead. There's no way someone survives that. But the truck ends up exploding, so we assume the kid that was driving it is dead. The black kid sees that the creeper is still not dead. He's like regenerating, and then he starts to like crawl away to get away, and he still has a flare gun, and the creeper is just like half flying, half jumping towards him to get him, and eventually when he's on top of him, he's about to kill him, and then another harpoon straight in the dome this time. And as he's laying on the ground with the harpoon in his forehead, the dad comes and just spears him to death like 50 times, just letting all that anger out from stealing his son, just ravishing him with the spear, just like I was like, I mean, you know, if they take your son, go, you do you know. And he thinks it's dead, but in reality like the 23 days were up, so it just kind of goes into its like cocoon until the next spring. But the movie ends with these teenagers driving up to the farm wanting to see the creeper because apparently the dad has kept the body and is just hanging there in the shed, and he's just waiting for it to wake up so he can kill it again. And it ends with like the girl asking him, how long ago did you kill it? And he says about 23 years. And he's like, about 3 more days and it's gonna come back to life. And then the movie ends. So definitely not as good as the first movie, but still a solid sequel. A fun movie that you can watch over and over again. I never get bored watching this movie. I think it's a fun, worthy sequel. Now, let's move on to Jeepers Creepers 3. So let's make this one quick because this is where things start to go downhill. So the movie starts with this guy running away from the creeper, and he has this machete in his hand. He gets in the middle of the road where he sees a truck coming, so he's yelling for help, but all of a sudden he gets yanked up into the air, and so the guy that's driving the truck gets out because he's all like, what the hell just happened? And then he looks up and the machete comes flying down, but guess what else comes flying down? The hand of the creeper. Now we fast forward 23 years later, and guess where we're at? We end up at the police station where the first movie took place, and the entire police force is outside looking at the truck of the creeper, because I guess he just left it there since he flew away with Justin Long. So they're all like examining the thing, and it's just like this death trap of a thing, because it's like these spikes come out of nowhere and shut on this guy's arm, so they all realize that the truck is booby trapped. And then these other police cars pull up to the situation, and then there's this black police officer that comes out to talk to like the sheriff, and he apparently has history with the creeper. But as they're talking, a knife shoots out of the truck attached to a metal cord, and it's the same knife that the creeper showed us in the second movie with like the carvings on the handle. So they decide to bring the truck to the impound, and as they're leaving, the officer tells the sheriff, "You think it was trying to burn up that church for a campfire? Like, it's trying to burn information that it doesn't want us to know." And obviously the driver and the police officer that are taking the truck to the impound get the truck stolen by the creeper himself, and you can see him standing on the truck, but he ends up coming back and snatching the driver, and the woman cop does nothing. She has the gun straight at his face and just choke, and then he just drives away. Meanwhile, we cut to this farmhouse where we see this old lady come out, and she sees a vision of her son waving at her, so she goes up and talks to him, and he's like, "It's coming back for what it left here, so you gotta get out of here. You literally have to get the hell out of here." And he says, even if you don't want to, at least do it for Addison, which is this young girl that lives with her on the farm, and she wakes up and just sees her grandma, I believe it is, just waving and talking to thin air. So she gets on her favorite horse and rides out to grandma to talk to her, and she's just in shock sitting on the tractor, and she tells him that she's gonna take the truck in town to get more food for the horse, and she's like, "We got no more credit and we got no more money, so what are we gonna do? We should sell the horse." And she's like, "I'm not gonna sell the horse because it's my favorite horse." But then she tells her, "Maybe you should go away for some time, stay at your friend's house because I'm gonna have some unexpected company." And this random dude pulls up to the station in a truck with this big ass gun. I'm talking like, I don't know what the name of this gun is, but it's the same gun that like Arnold Schwarzenegger has in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, where he's like lighting up the police force outside of the like tech lab. That type of gun, like whatever that is. And the officer goes to the sheriff to tell him that that man right there saw that thing fly down and punch a hole through his old man, so he wants revenge. And he's just pretty much trying to motivate him, like he's like, "Yo, you got blood on your hands too, like we gotta do something about it." Anyways, Addison goes to her friend's house, and then this is when we meet like the brother of her friend, who's apparently an asshole because he's got this bunny trap that apparently was like up the garden of his mom, but then they're like telling him to let it go, and he doesn't want to let it go, and he's just playing around with it, and he's like pretty much like, "I wanted to kill it." Just your typical asshole in a horror movie. But he rides off with his dirt bike on his truck to go riding with his friends, which we later see. And then this is when they come across the creeper's truck. They decide to investigate it, and then they come up with the genius plan of breaking into it, which they cannot until the jackass brother opens the back door and they see the dead body. Then the spikes come out of nowhere and shut close as before, so then they start running, but then the knife shoots out and hits one of the dudes in the leg. And then we cut back to Addison, who shows up to the store to get hay. And then listen, for what this movie's worth, because this movie's ass, she's hot. That's like the one plus of this movie. But she's got no money for the hay, so she's like, "I'll go to a different store." And then you can clearly tell one of the workers has a crush on her, so he goes and tells his dad, "I'll pay for it." And then he's like, "Bro, you can do better." But he ends up buying her hay and chasing her down with a car and tells her to turn around, let's feed that horse, like a simp. But hey, look, if you live in the middle of nowhere and there's a girl that pretty that lives out there, I'll give him a pass. It's not college or a big city where everywhere you look there's pretty women. It's like they're in the middle of nowhere. Anyways, they are trying to pull the knife out of this dude's leg, and then all of a sudden it starts yanking him towards the truck, and one of them just dips out while the other two try to help him, and then the creeper comes. And this scene makes no sense because he grabs his spear and spears both of them together to the tree, and I'm just like, bro, why are you guys running in a straight line? Like, separate, dog. What are you doing? No brain cells in these kids. Then we cut back to the farm where they're feeding the horse that she is in love with, this white beautiful horse, and the dude is trying his best to flirt, but he obviously sucks. And then you can see the grandma like digging up this hole up in the hill, and it's kind of ruining the vibe. And then he's like, "You know what, I'm just gonna leave." And then he's like, "Would you want to come with me?" She's like, "Just leave." And then he offers her to come again, and then she's like, "You know what, I'd love to come." And then we see the old grandma who ends up digging up the hand, which we saw come flying down at the beginning of the movie. And remember that one guy that ditched them on the motorcycle? He's hauling ass looking for help, but the creeper comes flying and snatches him in one of the worst scenes I've seen in this movie. I mean, it's so bad. Look at this. Then we cut back to the grandma who grabs a hold of the creeper's hand with her own hand, and she goes into some like trance and like starts levitating because the hand pulls her up, and there's these like whipping sounds like and you just see her like in the air. It's just, I mean, it's getting worse and worse. Then we cut back to the wannabe lovers as they pull up to this ranch. So the guy gets out of his truck, and as he's going to the house, he hears his name like, hey buddy, and he sees someone underneath the car. So he goes to talk to him, and he's like, bro, bring the sheriff and everything he's got and get the hell out of here as fast as you can. And as he turns around, there's 2 other workers underneath another truck. So he's like, what the hell is happening here? So he gets back in his vehicle, tries to start the truck, but guess what? It won't start. And out of nowhere, this guy with a bloody face comes to their window like a little cheap jump scare. And then on the side, you can see the truck that the people were hiding under just fly by. And when he looks back, it's the creeper holding them up. But what's weird is that he lets the dude go, and then he comes to their truck and he's like smelling them outside the window, and apparently he really wants the girl. That's the victim that he wants. So he jumps over to the other side, flips the truck over, breaks the window, and grabs her out of the truck, and the dude was not able to do anything. So the main officer and the sheriff pull up to the grandma's house because he wants her to be a part of the team that's gonna hunt this thing down since she has experience with it. But when they show up, she's just like completely out of it, and he's like, what's the matter? And so she explains to him the hand that she dug up and how she came about it, that her son saw it falling from the sky and he dug it, he shot it with a shotgun, and it's still alive, so he buried it and now it's coming back for it. But she also tells him that when you touch it, you can see how it came to be, you can see exactly what it is. Now we cut back to the creeper's truck where she's clearly still alive, wrapped up in this body bag, and the dude that got his thing in his leg is also still alive, and he's like, can you reach one of those knives or weapons on the side of the truck, see if you can cut yourself loose? And then we cut back to the main officer and the sheriff arguing, and he's telling him like, we gotta find out the secrets of this thing, we got to let me hold that thing so I can figure out what it is, because maybe those are the secrets that we need to kill it, because next time I'll be too old to do it. And when we cut back to the 2 people in the back of the creeper's truck, she's able to get out of her body bag, and then she sees that the guy that's in the other body bag is the asshole brother of her friend. So they're trying to find a way out of this truck, and then he's like, not through that way, because he knows about the spikes that are gonna come down. So he's like, why don't we try the front of the truck? And as they're trying the front, he goes, and there's this like hole where you can clearly tell a spear is gonna come flying out, and that's exactly what happens. He just gets stabbed right through the skull and dies right in front of her. Now when we cut back to the officer and the sheriff, the other people show up as well. The guy with the big ass gun, they all go to the back, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna touch this thing, see what's up. So he goes and he touches it, and he goes into the same trance that old lady did. And then as the girl that's trying to get out of the creeper truck hears him coming back, she hides again in her body bag, and the creeper comes and notices that there's something off because he sees the kid that was trying to get away that has that metal tube stuck through his head, and we see him pull out a knife, and you think he's gonna stab her, and then it just cuts back to the officer and everyone that's holding the hand of the creeper. And so now he's in shock from what he's seen, and so now the guy with the big ass gun wants to touch him. The sheriff is like, you're out of your goddamn mind, and then they have a little argument, to which they end up saying, okay, I'll let you do it, and then he just grabs the shovel and just starts smacking the hand, which is pretty dumb. But then they hear the police radio asking for help, so they all just ditch the hand and they're like going hunting down this thing. Then we cut to the father of the boy who's in love with Addison talking on the phone, being like, I'm really scared, he hasn't said a word, he's just in complete shock. And then the boy ends up telling him like, the thing just took her and I couldn't do anything to stop it. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But then we cut back to the main officer and the sheriff who are in their truck chasing down the creeper's truck, and so he grabs a rifle and tries to shoot the tires, but every time he does it, it ricochets back to them. So it's like, what the hell is this thing made of? And then this rolling bomb comes out of the creeper truck, and they try to shoot it so it doesn't blow up on them, and the sharpshooter sheriff was able to do so. But then on the other side of the road, you can see the guy with the big ass gun coming down, and he has no idea that everything's just gonna ricochet off him. And so the main officer is trying to go on the radio and tell him, don't shoot that thing, but he doesn't listen, and he just blasts that thing to hell. And guess what? It just ricochets all the way back to the driver and the shooter, and everyone just gets dead. Now to me, this scene makes no sense, because yes, I understand the creeper's truck is like built and strong and made out of metal, and it could ricochet maybe bullets from a rifle, but that big ass gun, bro, I feel like a tank couldn't even ricochet those bullets. That gun is heavy artillery, am I right? But then another rolling bomb comes and they're able to dodge it, but it's close enough that the explosion makes the car flip into this like Talladega Night crash scene, because they flip over like 8 times. And you mean to tell me this old ass cop and sheriff survived that Talladega Night car crash? You're out of your mind, bro. Not even a broken bone? Anyway, the sheriff goes out with the shotgun, tries to shoot the creeper, but the creeper is able to like block the bullets with his goddamn axe like a superhero, and he throws his ninja star right through the barrel of the shotgun. So now the sheriff only has his handgun, and as he's approaching him, then the other officer yells at him to get his attention away from the sheriff, and he's on the truck with the big ass gun, and he's trying to get it to like unlock for some reason, and the creeper's like chasing him down, and then he like ends up flying, and then he finally unlocks the gun and just like shoots that thing burning into hell, and the creeper falls on top of him, and you think like maybe did he kill him, but then he gets up and then the other guy has the axe on his head. And this movie just gets so cheesy, bro, because the creeper goes like this, like it's goddamn Thor's hammer, and the axe just comes flying back to his hand. I'm just like, bruh, there's so much things in this movie that is like taking away from the creeper. Anyways, we cut back to the grandma who has a shotgun and is just waiting for the creeper to show up to the farm, and the vision of her son comes back. Is like, you can't kill it, and he's like, don't even try to stop me. And she sees the headlights of a truck coming up, but then it's the guy who's like in love with Addison that pulls up. And then we cut to Addison, who's still in the truck of the creeper, and the creeper finds out that she's still alive, so she starts like crawling away right to the trap where her sister's brother was killed, and the creeper gets right there and gets stabbed right through the head. And I'm just like, this is also stupid. That's his own truck. Wouldn't he know where his traps are at? Like, that makes no sense. So she starts running away, and obviously the creeper is not dead because nothing can kill this thing, apparently. So he throws the shooting star. She trips on a rock, so it misses her. Then he tries to like spear her, but since he has like only one eyeball, he's not really able to get her. So she ends up at the nearest road, and there's this truck coming. He's like chasing her down with the axe, and the truck just hits the out of the creeper. So she continues running, and the truck driver gets out of the truck to see like, what the hell did I hit? And then as he's looking for what he hit, the creeper snatches him up. And then we cut back to the creeper, who is now showing up to the farm, and he sees this message laid out on the ground saying, we know what you are, with his hand pinned to the board. He grabs his old hand, breaks it, and he's like apparently enraged because he just starts screaming, and all the freaking birds, the crows and everything, just start falling from the sky. And then we cut back to Addison, who's hiding for her dear life, and then we hear someone say Addie, and it's the boy that's in love with her. And then she hugs him, and she also sees her grandma, so everyone just hugs and has a little happy moment. And then we get this like little montage of everyone that survived this movie, and explaining how every 23 years it comes back and eats for 23 days. And when I tell you this infuriates me, bro, I thought we were gonna learn something new about the lore of the creeper, and what we learned is something we already know. We already know it comes every 23rd spring for eating for 23 days. Like, bruh, this is the third movie in the we know this already. Well, you gotta give us something here, man. Like, I cannot believe that that's what they pulled on us in this movie. Like, when she like holds the hand, I'm like, oh, we're gonna find out, is he a demon or like an alien or some shit like Pennywise? But no, we got to learn that every 23rd spring it eats for 23 days. And then we go back to the guy who shows up to her house, and then apparently they're dating because they kiss, and they're like, oh, we're in love with each other. And then the little wink wink moment at the end is the guy puts on the orange Letterman jacket, which, by the way, let me, I got myself something here. Okay, I got so he puts on and that's like a little wink wink moment to the audience, like, oh, this took place right before the second movie. Oh, and then we see Trish from the first movie writing like a book saying like, I'm gonna kill this son of a bitch, and the movie ends. Dude, this movie sucks balls. Okay, the only good thing about this movie is that the girl is really hot, and then Jonathan Breck is still the creeper because he plays the creeper super well. But the story made no sense. I mean, they blue balled the out of the audience, and then you would think, okay, the fourth movie, Jeepers Creepers Reborn, it can't get any worse than this. They cannot make a worse movie than this. Well, I'm sorry to say, they did. They pulled it off. So the movie starts off with this old couple driving cross country in the most copy-paste fashion I've ever seen from the first movie. Like, just let me explain this to you. Remember in the first movie how there was a boy and a girl in a car driving cross country just like this, and then a truck pulls up right behind them and is driving all hectic and crazy behind them, blowing the horn? Well, guess what happens in this movie? A truck is driving behind them, blowing that horn, and it has obviously the same plate beating you on it. And guess what the guy does? He rolls down the window and waves for the guy to pass him by, just like Justin Long did in the first movie, and the truck passes him by. And what do you know? They pass a house where they see the truck and they see the creeper throwing a body down the pipe. Oh my goodness. Did they have zero creativity or originality coming up with this scene? Come on! So then the truck comes up again, starts driving hectic behind them, and then drives them off the road just like in the first movie. It's like, at what point is this not just a beat for beat remake of the original? So the guy's like, okay, I know the license plate. We'll go to the nearest gas station, get the phone, and tell the police what happened to us. As they're driving back onto the road, they see a truck, but it doesn't have the same license plate. So like, okay, it's not the same truck. So they drive the other way. And as they're driving, the guy brings up like, maybe we should stop by the house and see what's down that pipe. I'm not making this up. I swear to you, this is the movie. So they go to the house, and guess what? They go both together to look down the pipe. And then we get this like awful transition into like a YouTube video that's being played on some iPhone. And then we see the main characters of our movie that are driving in a car cross country as well. And this guy is like obsessed with watching these YouTube videos and these like mysteries of urban legends, and she is just kind of like, yeah, whatever, this is like all just a bunch of conspiracy theories. So she's like the typical science girl that doesn't believe in any of these shenanigans. Anyways, they're talking about all this stuff, and then she pulls over because she needs to throw up. And the tree that she chooses to throw up, you see the ninja star from the creeper, and then we get the most CGI crow I've ever seen. Look at that thing! And before I go any further, I just have to point out the CGI and the green screen in this movie is what tears it apart, and we'll get to the acting and how bad that is, but dear lord, the green screen is unbearable. And while Chase, her boyfriend, is waiting in the car, we see that he has the ring, so he's planning to propose to her on this trip. And then we cut to the scene where we see the creeper crawling on the ground, the ugliest version of the creeper I've ever seen. And is this the harpoon gun from the second movie? Like, I'm not quite sure, but if it is, that is a terrible reference, because that does not look like the place or the house where that shit happened. But then we see him like break off his cocoon off his face, and it's just the ugliest creeper you've ever seen. We see him eating this like wild boar, and it looks like a little baby Jeepers Creep? I don't know, but it looks awful. I cannot emphasize enough how awful it looks. And he sees this scarecrow in the distance, so he takes the scarecrow's clothes. And then we see this dude pull up with a really nice car in the middle of nowhere in the woods, and he takes a call from the girl who was throwing up, so apparently they're like friends. And then he goes off to take a leak, and then while he's doing so, the creeper f***s him up. Then we cut back to the couple who are now driving again towards Horror Hound Festival in rural Louisiana, and she's like, I can't believe you take me to these wonderful places all the time. And then they see a sign for a voodoo shop, and they're like, ooh, we should stop by. So they enter the voodoo shop, and Chase finds one of the creeper's knives that has, you know, the carvings on the handle. And they meet up with the owner of the shop, and the girl asks her, we're looking for this address, but we can't find it on any map. And then she's like, oh yeah, the satellites are here all messed up, so let me give you this map that actually has the directions. And as she's handing off the map, she gets this like vision of this like cult person with like a baby carriage in the background, and then the lady lets go and it kind of goes away, and she's like, $50 for that. And he's like, what? It's antique, honey. And then as they're leaving, she's like, oh, congratulations to you both. And then he's like, for what? And then she's like, oh, he doesn't know. And then as they walk away, she's like, neither does she. So apparently she's like pregnant. And then she calls up someone on her antique phone and tells them that they have a tree bearing fruit, he will be most pleased. So she's probably part of some f***ing cult or something. So then they end up at this really nice house or motel, I guess. I don't know what it is, but it's fancy as hell for being in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana. And then as they settle into their room, he's like, we're gonna cosplay. And then she goes in the bathroom to try on the most generic costumes ever. But let me tell you what, she looks pretty good in the first one. I mean, I love me some Harley Quinn, what can I say? But it just gets worse and worse from there. The Freddy Krueger is not as hot. Definitely the Edward Scissorhands is not that great. And I don't know what the that is. And then she asks him, what are you gonna wear? And he's like, just a t-shirt. So, you know, typical guy stuff. And then they end up hooking up. So she ends up going to the bathroom to test if she's pregnant or not. She gets that vision again with the lady from the antique store in the vision this time. And then a loud bang comes on the window, which freaks her out. Her boyfriend comes and he's like, that's nothing, we'll be all right. Then we see the creeper getting his truck ready, which makes me think, who was that in the truck at the beginning of the movie? Because it definitely doesn't look anything like the truck that he has. Then we cut to the Horror Hound Festival, and everyone's dressed up, doing their little shenanigans. And then one guy has to go, you know, take a leak. And what do you know? The creeper is there and kills the dude. And then we see the couple walking around the Horror Hound Festival, and you can see the silhouette of the creeper like staring at them, watching them down. And they both stop at this attraction where they can shoot like ninja stars and try to like play this game. And as he's doing that, she notices that one of the ninja stars is the creeper's star. Not that she knows what it is, but she's just like, I've never seen anything like this. And then the guy that's running the little game is like, that's because it's the creeper's ninja star. Have you ever heard of the creeper? And she's like, oh, don't get him started. And he's all like, I've heard about this legend. So then they convince her to throw one of the shooting stars. So she throws it, she lands it. It's like, oh my god. And then she grabs another one and cuts her finger. And he apparently has like a first aid kit on hand. But as her boyfriend is helping her, she gets another vision from the cut that she got of this cult with like the symbol on her head, which is like the same design on her finger. So they end up leaving the attraction, and as they do, you can see the creeper hand get one of those flying ninja stars. Then we just see everyone dancing for a little bit in like the horror version of EDC. And then this woman gets on the microphone and is like, we're gonna play a little game, and the prize is an escape room for 2 people that win the game. And the escape room is located at the Barnabit house, and it will test you to your limits. So they do the drawing and they end up winning, and what do you know, the person that drew it out was the same girl from the antique store. So it's like they're all behind it. So they go backstage, they sign some waivers, and they meet the camera crew who's gonna be filming the whole thing, and the producer, and then they all get in this van to go to the Barnabit house. And the guy driving the damn van is the same guy at the throwing star attraction. action. Anyways, we cut to the creeper driving his truck, and he runs into this like electric pole, which like ruins the festival music for them, so they can't continue dancing. But then the DJ has like an alternative, so they continue dancing like crazy. And then this is like the only cool scene in the movie, because we get the creeper going out of his truck, walking away like a badass as the truck explodes in the background. Your most typical action movie scene ever. Now when we cut back to the van that the people are in, this guy with the video camera claims that he got the creeper on the camera. So Chase takes a look at the video, since he's obsessed with that kind of stuff, and obviously believes it because he's like, oh my god, it's on tape, must be real. But everyone else is like, it could just be someone in a costume trying to play the creeper. Then they stop the van and they say we gotta walk from here on out, and then the producer gets in a big argument with the camera guy because apparently the camera doesn't work anymore, and he's like, I got an Emmy. And I love what the camera guy replies to him. He's like, I don't give a about your Emmy. Like, that's how I would act around actors, be like, I don't give a how many Oscars you got, shut the up. Then we cut to like the creeper who's like walking up some hill, and just look at the green screen in this scene. I mean, just look at it. The color grading of the creeper is even bluer than the background. Then we cut back to Chase and Lane, who are arguing because apparently the dude was flirting with the blonde girl. Then we cut to the camera dude who's walking through a graveyard, and he sees one of the cult members walk through a door, and he's like, hey, can you help me out? I need to fix my camera. And then obviously we see the CGI white crow, and then he gets snatched up by the creeper and dies. And then we cut back to the couple, and as they're arguing, Chase thinks this is the perfect time to propose, so he gets the ring out, drops on one knee, and then she gets snatched up by the creeper. You know what they say, timing is everything in life, and I don't know why Chase thought that was the right time to propose, because that seems like the worst time to propose, but you do you. Anyways, we cut back to the rest of the crew, who find the camera guy's camera, and they're like, what the hell got him? Was it a big animal? And he's like, there's no big animals around here. And then we get Chase running in panic, coming to them saying like, something took my girlfriend and flew away. And he's like, we gotta call the cops. And then he starts running and trips over the dead body, which is like ridiculous, because wouldn't you see a dead body a mile away before you trip on it like some rock? Unless it's super dark, but obviously the lighting in this movie doesn't help me create that atmosphere. But it's the dead body of the camera guy, and they're like, oh shit, he's dead as f. So now they're all freaked out, so they all start running to the Barnabas house. And then we cut to the girlfriend who's like tied up, hanging out with the creeper. And then as they enter the Barnabas house, the cult members lock them in and they can't get out. They all start questioning each other and turning on each other, being like, who is in on this? And then they all point towards the driver because he's the hillbilly dude. And then he pulls out a gun like, you guys better shut the up. Then we cut back to the creeper who sticks a knife in the belly of the girl, but not really deeply, and then he just leaves, and then he sprouts his wing and all the crows are around him, which is very odd. We cut back to the rest of them who are still arguing, and Mr. Hollywood's being a straight up asshole, so the Chase is just like, yo, chill the out because we're trying to survive here. And then they hear the doorknob twisting, so they all run up upstairs in fear, and then there's like blood dripping down onto the girl's hand, and when they look up, it's the guy who was taking a piss earlier in the movie who's like carved up and hanging upside down. And then the creeper shows up, so the redneck hillbilly dude starts shooting at the creeper and ends up shooting his hand, which pisses off the creeper, and then he just throws his big axe, but they all duck under it. And then we get this superpower that the creeper has that I've never heard of before in any of the movies, where he just whistles and it like instantaneously drops everyone because it's so painful to the ears. Like, since when was that ever one of the creeper's powers? Like, what? Anyways, Chase starts fighting the creeper with a piece of wood, and then the other people try to take the axe off of the door so they can get out, and they end up doing so they all escape. And then the creeper just pulls off his arm that's shot and takes the arm of the hanging body to regenerate into a new arm. We cut back to Lane, who's still tied up in the creeper's lair, but she is able to get a knife and cut herself loose, and the last shot of her we get is her trying to escape. Then we cut back to the rest of the group who are now in the house and don't know what to do because they realize there's no way out. So the hillbilly dude's like, alright, well, if we can't get out, we're gonna have to kill it, and he takes out a rolling pin, and the guy's like, really, bro? And Chase tells them there's no way to kill it, so we're f***ed essentially. And guess who pops in from above? Lane! So they all start walking back upstairs because apparently there's this phone, and Mr. Hollywood steps on a bear trap, classic, as Chase calls the police for help, but then they're like, where are you located? And he's like, where the hell is the Barnabas house? I don't know where the hell this is, but he's like, just the Barnabas house, come help us. And the police officer's like, sir, are you on drugs? And he's like, no, just come help us. And then the phone gets snatched out of his arm, and then they start running back downstairs, and then Lane brings up the idea like, we need to kill it, and then the other girl is like, well, your boyfriend doesn't think we can, and she's like, well, I'm not so sure because it's pretty old and decrepit, it stinks of death. So the other girl's like, well, then how do we kill it? And then she's like, well, we gotta trap it. And as they're having that conversation, the creeper breaks in through the door, and throws an axe right through the blonde girl's head. So the rest of them run into this room, barricade the door, and apparently it's this like cult-like room with all these cult-like artifacts. And then she gets her vision again of being surrounded by the cult members, this time with the creeper entering the room. We cut to the creeper who drags the blonde girl's body upstairs and he starts eating her brain. And then when we cut back to the rest of the group, the girl notices one of the voodoo dolls that looks exactly like Justin Long's character in the first movie. Like, that has to be him, right? Anyways, they start putting two and two together and they think that this thing has this like cult-like fan club that maybe feeds it, and maybe that's why they want one of them. And she grabs the creeper's knife and is like, I think I know what we need to do. But they don't bother explaining us what that is. So they go looking for the creeper, and then Mr. Hollywood gets stabbed through the chest, and then the other guy gets beat the f up by the creeper as he's playing the Jeepers Creepers song in the background. But he ends up stabbing the creature in the leg and then takes the music player and smashes it on his back, which really pisses off the creeper. I didn't know he was a fan of music. But as he comes back downstairs, he sees Lane with the knife, which is the victim that he wants. She's slowly backing away outside of the house, telling him, you can have me and the baby, as the other two guys go to the rooftop to get like the pole at the very top to like spear him down. I guess that's their genius plan that they never told us. And then as the creeper is holding her by her neck, she apparently has two of the creeper's ninja stars in the back and stabs him in the face with it, and then she ninja stars both his eyes. I mean, talk about precision, man. Robin Hood would be jealous. So he can't see what he's doing, so he's just swinging like crazy, but he can't see her. And then she tells the boys up there like, now's the time, and then they throw the spear right through his mouth. The precision, my man. Oh my god, they all have genetics for precision, for like amazing hand-eye coordinate. It's unbelievable. Anyways, a bunch of crows start surrounding them and then makes the old guy fall off and die apparently, but obviously Chase doesn't die because he has plot armor. So the two of them go back into the house, the crows go around the creeper and they just take him away. I guess I thought they were gonna eat him, but no, they just take him away. And then we see the cops with the worst green screen background ever. So let's just get through this. Anyways, he puts the shotgun down, they go inside the car, and apparently the movie's about to end. You think it's a happy ending, but no, it's a Jeepers Creepers movie. So you see her eyes turn pitch black right before the screen goes out. And then we get one more scene before the movie ends, and it's all the crows that are surrounding the creeper, and then he turns his face and looks at the camera, and it is just gross as hell. Not even scary looking at all, just terrible. And then the movie ends. Oh my goodness. This was a tough video to make because the first two movies are great. I enjoy them. But god damn it, Jeepers Creepers 3 and this movie are just atrocious pieces of art. I've already mentioned why I hate this movie. The green screen is annoying as hell in the background at all times. And then you get the CGI, which is even worse. The acting is not good and it's just such generic BS. The creeper is terrible. Oh my god, we need to at least get a good monster design. At least like for the bare minimum, do that. Put effort into the creeper because he can carry the movie for a little bit, for Christ's sake. But the creeper looks bad, the CGI is bad, the green screen is bad. I'm just repeating myself at this point. The acting is bad, the plot is terrible. Like, they never go anywhere with this like baby antichrist bullshit cult that they have going. I'm like, oh my lord, how can you ruin this so much worse? And let me look up really quick who's the director, because it was not Victor Salva for this movie. They replaced him. It's Timo Vuorensola. I don't care about butchering his name because I will never watch anything ever that he does ever again. It was so bad. So that, my friends, is a complete recap and review of the Jeepers Creepers movies. It goes from good to hot garbage real quick, which is so sad because the creeper is one of my favorite monster designs ever. The first couple movies were really fun to watch. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I put a lot of time and effort into these. Let me know what you guys want to see next in the comments below. If you guys want to support me furthermore, check out my Patreon. There's like $2 tiers. You get to see movie reactions in there, and it's the best way to support this channel and what I do. I would highly appreciate it. And like I said, I am going to the Conjuring house, so check that vlog out. But thank you so much. Subscribe if you're not already. Give this video a like, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.